2FM. Come together.
Well, Michael D Higgins, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
And thank you for having us in your wonderful city.
It is a great city.
You're already president, aren't you?
The likelihood is that I'll be in the race.
Yes, but you're president of Galway United.
Oh, Galway United, absolutely.
That's
Terryland.
Very important office that you hold there.
Yes, it is, and these are trying and testing times. But the remaining games are very important.
Indeed, no, I understand entirely. Now, I suppose let's cut to the chase about the presidency. You've made no secret of the fact that you'd love this office, and I remember Ted Kennedy being asked quite memorably, but not answering particularly well. I hope you won't fall into the same trap. But why do you want to be president?
Well, I know what the institution is capable of and what its limitations are, because I've been in all of these elective offices, including mayor of the city here, but councillor, senator, TD. I've been a minister, and I've been in the Council of Culture Ministers in Europe. So I know what you can do, and I know where it can be stretched. And I think at this time, there's a kind of conversation with the public, but there's a kind of discourse that's very, very important. I think that, put simply, there are things that you have responsibilities for in the Constitution, and it's a great honour to do that. Yeah. There are formal duties that you do which are about the business of the state. But then there is a space in which you can exercise your discretion, the kind of issues you address, where you give papers, the people to whom you speak, and what you decide to do with it. That provides a great opportunity. Now, my particular interest has been, I was an academic here in Galway, and I lectured on political science, but then I went into the public world, and I've been in the public world for just about 40 years.
Yes.
And I feel I can do the job very well, but much more importantly, I'm not so much interested in just functioning like that. I'm interested in getting kinds of issues debated that have been neglected. For example, that was the reason why I was originally interested in it. I felt, what kind of Ireland do we want? What kind of citizens do we want to be? What kind of connections are there between the economic world and the social world? Are we bruising each other? But then again, something else, which is another part of my life. Are we playing to our strengths? My own background is very varied. I've been in the academy. I write. I wrote for Hot Press along to probably when you were very young, between 1982 and 92. Yes. So I feel I can relate.
Are you a poet?
To the public. Yes, I have 3 collections of poems, and that's very important. I'm writing now very slowly. Yes. My last poem is in Mark Patrick Heatherman's book, The Truth of Poetry.
Well, what inspires you to write poetry?
Well, the writing of poetry is a distillation, and what you need for it really is the time, not so much as getting the words, the lines of metre right. What you need is the space to allow the image to grow, and that can come, if you like, from a kind of a sensory experience, which is very much my second book. But it also can come from an absurd moment. I wrote in the first collection a poem about a bank manager fainting at the mayor's ball because the mayor had asked him to dance, and so forth. So there are ironic humours that are in that collection, but in the more recent times I found myself getting very dark.
Yes.
The lines getting shorter.
On what? On what subjects?
The subjects were, I suppose, the language itself was beginning to empty all around me in a way, and I was becoming more philosophical. But I'm not in favour.
Morose?
All morose means is that when you're indulging yourself in the whole thing.
Were you indulging yourself in the whole thing?
Oh, no. I had just put my toe into the darkness. But I would say to people, I was asked about this on a programme about literature once, and I said, I haven't used up all the black ink yet. But I called it constructive pessimism at the time.
Do you think that this country would welcome a poet president, if you like, an intellectual? Do you think that modern Ireland is comfortable in the presence of intellectuals?
Well, I do think it's the time for it. When you're at transition points, we're at a transition point now where, if you like, with people I do agree with one of your previous texters saying that we should be positive. We should be really trying to see what it is that we can do now and make a new shape, as it were. And that has happened in other countries, in Eastern Europe, in Central Europe. Václav Havel was a very significant example. It happens regularly in South America, with which I would be familiar. But what you do need to have courage to put your ideas out into the public. Now, there were times, I have to say, when I look back, when my ideas weren't very popular.
What was your least popular idea?
I think that maybe all those referendums were very difficult. I mean, one of them led to my losing my seat.
Which one was that?
But I think that maybe one of the most contentious was around the Ronald Reagan period, because I had come back from Salvador and Nicaragua. Indeed, with one of your relations.
Indeed, my uncle, my late uncle
Niall.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, why haven't you tried to? Why haven't you run for the office of president before now?
Well, I was interested in doing it 7 years ago. That time my interest was, if you think of the time, I had said, look, I had written, I remember a chapter in a book where I used the phrase that were we in danger of becoming consumed in our consumption.
Yes.
And I was very interested in the distance that was being opening up between what were real things and what were virtual or abstract things. There was also, at that time, a very serious kind of embedded individualism in thinking.
Selfishness?
Yes. Oh, it is. That was there. But in addition to that, the people can be selfish, but the government doesn't have to take the wrong decisions. It is part of the public world that you take decisions that are not just for this 5 years.
Let's go back to the
past.
question. Why didn't you go then 7 years ago? Why didn't you run for the office?
Oh, I didn't. There was a vote taken at the Labour Party's Parliamentary Party National Executive, and by a majority of one, they decided not to contest because Mary McAleese was going forward and she was unopposed, and she has done a great job.
You've said recently that you'd only sit for one term. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You clarify that for us now today. What age are you, may I ask you?
I'm 69.
Okay, and if you were to run and whatever, you'll be 70 plus 7. It gives us 77. Yes. And you don't think that there's room for an octogenarian in the Oris?
Well, it's a matter for which octogenarian you have in mind.
I mean,
it was never challenging to the church, but it's not a cardinal, I mean, or a pope, with respect.
Of course.
But of course, but the thing is this, that 7 years would be enough. I think that whatever I have to say, even I could get it said in 7 years.
Are you sure about that?
Well, I can go into quiet contemplation after that.
Okay. Do you think that the 7 year term in itself is